So yeah, man, I'm enjoying it. I don't even know what to do with myself. I'm like wandering around like that Pablo Escobar meme, looking at the grass and the star, the sun and the lake, and just wondering what I'm doing with my life because I have this quiet now. It's alternately great and terrible.
Dude, it's interesting. I don't even have kids, but I am so off today. I literally just pushed the go live button. So like we did
Yeah,
like this
man,
whole
I'm
amazing intro, all
enjoying
this
every
cool
once.
stuff happened, and nobody even saw it. So that's the fun
So
thing about doing a live show.
so do we need
Everything
to
can go
reset it?
wrong.
We need to reset it because I had to do that once too. It was kind of like we were going and going, and like, man, he was like, "Did you press the button?" I was like, "No." So we started over.
I love it. Well, let me do your intro again. Let me kick you off, and I'll bring you back in. We'll act like we never started, even though we started. All right.
Hey, if it's gonna happen with anybody, it's best that it happens with me. So go ahead.
Exactly. Let's do it. All right. So, like I was saying, today I got a really awesome guest. He's my first ever mentor, Mr. Jason Centeno. Let me tell you a little bit about him just so you know who he is, even though we kind of already started this thing, but no biggie. So Jason went from being a firefighter to a fatherpreneur. He's a dad of 6, and he helps rescue fellow entrepreneurs from business burnout by doing a rapid assessment, identifying major threats, stabilizing the situation, and then equipping them with the tools and resources they need in order to bring their business back to full health. So Jason complained earlier that his applause going on stage wasn't loud enough. So I need to hear you out there. Let's put our hands together for Mr. Jason Centeno. All right. Second time's the charm, right?
I know I should have. You would have warned me. I should have just put some of my own applause in there real loud. But try to help you out for these production values. So real quick, that intro, was that like the boy Joey Yak that did all that music? And okay,
Yeah, that's my boy. Yeah, he's running around with superstars now. I gotta get him on this show. I might actually reach out to him for next week. That'd be kind of fun. That'll literally be a wrap.
Yeah, I should too. I think he's a father, so I should probably steal him too. Well,
yeah,
he's a busy guy, but yeah, I mean, he's having fun making money for sure because it's all music and intros and
yeah.
That kind of
funny
stuff.
because when I was making that rap video, that music video that he put together for me, we were talking about. He was asking me what is make money and have fun. And I said it's you, like you're the pinnacle of it. It's the person who's like in this kind of very narrowly niched thing that they picked out for themselves, and they're monetizing it. They've turned it into a business at that point. But Jason, you've done stuff like that too, right? You've done some cool stuff.
Yeah, I'm an accidental precursor to your show. I mean, most of it was have fun, then make money. But at some point, the balance gets thrown off, and you end up $30,000 in debt over making like fun videos and independent videos and stuff like that. So then you say, what am I gonna do? And for me, that became real estate. And that's how we met each other.
So you went from $30,000 in debt to starting a business that's entirely debt based, pretty much.
Yeah. I would say, of course, we don't think these things through, but if you want to look at it that way, I looked at it in a way to put a dent in something that I didn't know how to put a dent in at that time. It wasn't my first love. I was like, I always wondered about, how do they make money with houses? Now it was kind of like a means to an end that became a fun experience, and I'm kind of surrounded by kind of some of the results about that. These kind of art things going on behind me.
Sure.
With you, okay, so you came up with make money and have fun, right? With me, when I started the real estate, I kind of asked myself, like, who do I want to be in real estate? And I don't want to do it if it's not, about family and about fun, right? Because at that time I only had my one son, but as you know, I got way more now, and that's a whole. We'll go down that road later. But I just was like, well, I was into cartoons. Me, I like to mess around a lot. I'm not a serious person. I'm not a suit and tie person. And every time I see people representing real estate, not so much now, people have kind of veered off the course. But I mean, sorry, they became more authentic and more themselves with personal brands. But back then, everybody was like, I got to wear this, what's Century 21 wear? Green jackets? I forget. But like, they wear jackets, they represent a team, they have to talk in certain speak, and it's like, it's houses and I don't know, boring. But I wanted to be about family and fun, so I came up with an alter ego, which was Daddy's Fast Cash, and he was obviously a dad. So that was the family part. And then he was, in my head, he was kind of a mix between Dean Martin and Ricky Martin, kind of cool and kind of flashy Spanish guy. And then the fast cash was there to solve a problem. It was, people want to sell your house fast for fast cash, then that solves a problem. So that became Daddy's Fast Cash, not Daddy Fast Cash, because I didn't like that. I like Daddy's because it was mine and I could make it a verb and a noun and I could make it whatever I want. And it was definitely also easy to Google. Like you could never, my name's Jason, right? So it's like, oh, that guy Jason that buys and sells real estate. He said, no, it's Daddy something. Daddy's Fast Cash. Cool. And it was also great because when I would get on the phone with sellers, it was kind of like they would stumble over it, but they would always remember if they got a letter from me or something like that. If I'm like, hey, this is Jason Centeno, and they're like, who? I'm like, Daddy's Fast Cash. You might have got a letter from me. Oh yeah, you gave me that cartoon thing. Da, 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 da. And then when they would try to pronounce it, they would stumble over it, and we would both laugh about it. And then kind of like that was the icebreaker, and then conversations were just a lot easier. So I kind of fumbled into that one, but then I learned a lot about personal branding and naming and all these kind of cool things from just starting out with family and fun. So once you get your North Star or what you want your life to be about, all that starts to just, the universe comes in and starts to say, yep, right decision. And, it becomes, I'm a genius. No, I'm never a genius. You just dabble a lot, experiment a lot until you find something that you really like. And then you kind of just go with that for as many years as you can. So that's
exactly. It's like all the 30, the overnight successes that are 30 years in the making. So I want to kind of roll the clocks back here to when you were a real estate investor. So you started off $30,000 in debt and you decided to go to basically a debt-based business, which was real estate investing. So I kind of want to keep it on the perspective of debt. What are your thoughts on debt? Like, are you afraid of it, or do you actively try to get out of debt, or like where do you kind of stand on that whole line?
Oh, that is a tough line because on the one hand, you have this whole owing people something, and I don't know about you, but I don't like owing anybody anything. I'd rather have them owe me. And so, like they say in the Bible, the debtor is a slave to the debt. The debtor is a slave to the debt holder, right? And the idea of you being a slave to anything, I mean, this country fought against that pretty hard. So I would say that nobody likes being a slave to anything, right? That's kind of like our thing. That's what America's about. So there's that part. But then there's how do you use it intelligently, and the whole good debt, bad debt kind of idea. So does it make sense to go out there if you can never save your way to $1 million? I mean, it takes a lot longer, let's put it that way, but you can certainly leverage debt to get there a lot quicker. And also the idea of, building up your net worth, but taking something that is for example, I have to buy a car. Well, I have $25,000. Well, does it make more sense for me to go and buy a property for $25,000 that would spit off $500 in cash flow to pay for the car? Now the asset pays for the liability. Yeah, right. So if you're going to go into some kind of debt, it would be better to go into debt over something that's going to put money back in your pocket than something that's just going to take. So that takes a little while to get used to. And then, leveraging other people's debt, like subject to, or just, the kind of ideas of like, taking over payments and stuff like that, teaches you a lot of things. And, I've been burned by debt too. Honestly, I had back in, when was it, 2010, 11, something like that. I had to go through a couple short sales. I had houses that I had, Philadelphia has the crazy squatter problems, and they always have. And they not even now with legislation, they're still going through it. But not to beat on that dead horse, but I had squatters in two of my houses at the same time. They were next door to each other. Valuable lesson. I probably learned everything you could learn about single family real estate from just those two houses, all the things that you can do and you shouldn't do. But long story short, I ended up doing short sales on them. One short sale went okay. I had to come to closing with like $4,000. That didn't feel good, but I got it done. And that was, I had to pay back that debt. The other one it's like a 4 or 5 year battle, and that affected my ability to borrow. So finally after that was resolved, and it was certainly a journey, and definitely a part of my story. And in fact, a lot of it actually almost affected my ability to adopt, because a lot of people don't know this, but if you have foreclosures or bankruptcies on your credit, you technically can adopt. You couldn't adopt a child legally, like from the foster system. I don't know about how it is if you go to another country, but you couldn't do it here in the United States. So because they check you on that, and then they would put you in a, they would say you were like not unqualified to be a parent, but basically you're not a good bet financially for this kid to have a safe and secure home. Same as a criminal record, that they treat it pretty similarly. So I didn't know that when I started down that path, but I know I had entertained the idea of bankruptcy at that time, because everybody was doing it and everybody was talking about how great it was a year later that everything was cleaned up. But something told me not to do that. And as I took my adoption journey, I realized that at the end of that, that was why I didn't do it, because something was telling me, don't do it. It's the easy way out. Fight your way through, get yourself straight. Also, if you want to grow in business and you have that bankruptcy kind of in your past, people are always going to side eye you. So, always pay your debtors no matter what. Always make sure you figure out a way to make it happen, no matter how hard it is or how much of a struggle, because at the end of the day, you preserve your options in the future. That's my 2 cents on that. But as for debt, like I said, it's a double-edged sword. You can use it to make a lot of wealth, and sometimes it can overwhelm you, and you don't know which way that boat is going to rock until you try it and get like financial, some experience, and then learn like from other people, like what was their experience, and read books on how to do it, and go, be around the right people. Don't be afraid to invest in yourself when it comes to that. Get a coach, get a mentor, read a bunch of books, ask a lot of questions, YouTube what you got to YouTube. But like, at the end of the day, like I said, it's not, debt is a weapon, but it's a weapon that can be used for good, for your own good, and for bad. You just have to learn how to use it, like fire or anything, just learn how to use it. So
yeah, it's a tool. I like to describe it like a hammer, right? Like you could go kill somebody with a hammer if you wanted to, but you could also build a house with a hammer. So it's all in, how you end up using it, like you said. So let's kind of roll into adoption a little bit here, because you kind of alluded to it. So you have a big mission in this world, a why. A lot of people talk about finding your why, discovering your why, and stuff like that. And for you, it's all based around adoption. So how did that kind of, I guess, come to be? And tell us a little bit about that.
Wow. I don't know if we have enough time, but I'll try to condense it. So when you're doing good, you open up your heart and your mind to obviously having more family, right? We only had one son at the time, and we were experiencing difficulty having another. Turns out it was a condition. It escapes my it's on the tip of my tongue too. But my wife had a condition that would not allow endometriosis. There you go. Very painful to treat, and at some point I got tired of seeing her going through this pain and all this process, and I just said, well, let's consider something else. I come from a big family. She came from a medium-sized family. We thought we should adopt. I mean, we just decided that let's look into that, because we always wanted a little girl, and so that was the initial goal, a little girl. Well, as we took the journey, it takes about a year, and maybe a little bit more, depending on your schedule, to kind of get qualified for this kind of stuff. We started talking to a couple from our church, Chris and Kelly Hanley. They had adopted 5, and one of them was 15 years old. And we were like, really, tell us about it. Like, tell us our whole story. They ended up becoming like our best friends. And I would say anybody in the adoption process, don't be afraid to ask other parents what it's like, because if you decide to go down this route. And by the way, I'm just going to say this now, consider me a resource for that if you're out there thinking about this. As Fred mentioned, I have a big goal. My big why is I want to see 100 kids adopted through my influence in my lifetime. That doesn't mean I have to adopt them myself. It means that I want to help people get there, however, mentally, financially, that looks like, so that they can make that decision, and when they're ready for it, like that can be a real decision that they can make easily versus struggle with it, worry about finances, how we're going to do it, yada yada yada. I want to help you get that to the point where it's like it's an easy decision for you to make if that's something you ever considered. um Speaking of that, Fred, you know him. Okay, so I'm responsible for the 5 that I adopted, and then I was instrumental in 2 other friends. They basically shared with me that my influence helped them to adopt theirs. Both were real estate investors. One adopted 2. The other, who Dylan, actually told me, Dylan McShane told me that I kind of inspired him to go down that route too. So 8 total. I got 92 to go in my head. Now, that was never the intention. When we went along with my family with this, it was just, hey, we want a little girl. We go down a year and a half later, we start looking, we have a couple of almosts. And I say it because, you start the process and then something happens. I always said that I don't mind being the kick in the ass that gets the family scared enough or to come on and step up and do their responsibilities. So if the fear of you losing your child makes you get your shit together, if this is sorry, that's how I'm going to say it, then good. I'm the boogeyman. I got to be the boogeyman. Fine. But at least those kids are saved by that, and their parents do the right thing, or their family members. Because not always the parents. It's like, could be grandmas, uncles, aunts, just somebody in that family taking them in, because ultimately they're better off with their kin, their blood, for better or for worse, than somebody outside of that. I've always struggled with the idea of people actually taking kids, and it's funny because I'm in it. I'm in the system, but I never liked the idea of the government being able to take your kids. And we could argue that too. You're blue in the face, but I like my freedom, and I don't like the idea of somebody taking my child away from me. So I never was a big fan of that idea, but I know that I'm a necessary cog in that machine, because this is where we're, at the end of the day, we got to do what's right for the children, right? So I'm like, I'm of 2 minds when it comes to this, but ultimately, like I said, if the threat of me being the one that takes your child into my house gets you off your butt and your family off your butt to do the right thing, I'm good with that. So that actually happened a couple of times. We had a couple of kids that were at the last minute taken back, and it's a little bit sad, but if you go with that mindset, then that was the right thing, right? But anyway, my wife, they started calling us for everything. We're like, we want a little girl. We're looking for like somebody who could be, maybe Spanish, even though they could be mixed race, whatever. But we're trying to blend into what family we have. So they'll call you for anything, just like I hate to say a good salesman, but just like salesman. Hey, we got one of these. We got one of these, because that's their job. They're there to place kids. They're not there to hear no, they're there to hear maybe or yes, right? So they're gonna, like anybody out there that's trying to do good or do something in the world, you're gonna keep trying and trying and trying. So that's their job. So they called us for this little boy, and they describe him to my wife, and she's like, I want to go see him. I'm like, I said, well, as a boy, you wanted a girl. I'm gonna go see him. Okay, so she goes. I think I was working that day, and comes back. She's like, I want him. And she shows me a picture, and it's this little blonde hair, blue-eyed or green-eyed kid, like the opposite of what we were looking for. But she's like, I want him. So that began the journey. Now that was Caleb. He was our first. The thing about him, everybody tells us our journey with him was like really, really easy. Like it got done pretty quick in less than a year. Normally these things could take 3 years, and a lot of fighting between parents. His situation, his parents just, were a mess. I don't want to go too deep into it, but separated. The grandma had their other son. She couldn't take on another because she was up in age. She couldn't take on a young child. Long story short, he came to be our son. So at that point, we did that. It's like, oh, okay, well, we still want a little girl. So we continued to look. And I want to say it was back in 2014, I want to say. Went on a church trip to Haiti to go build houses, and they had called and they said, oh, we got this little girl. They told my wife the situation, and I was like, well, I was getting ready for my trip. So I was like, sure. I'll, when I come back, we'll go see her or whatever. I go away, come back. What was it, like 10 days? Come back. There's a little girl in my house. I'm like, oh, Christmas in April. So that's how that happened. And she was in my house. So I thought we were done. So of course she comes into our life. We're starting the process with her, hoping it'll be easy, but this, like I said, they're all different sorts of challenges with every kid. I mean, there's no template for this. There's always a bunch of, like I said, the roller coaster ride on that one was a lot more up and down. So anyway, thought we were done. Went to, they start calling us for other children. We're like, nah, I think we're good. Nah. Because when you have, what do they say? The average family is like the 2.5 kids, a dog, living in this 3-bedroom house, whatever. That's kind of the average family, American family. So it's like, all right, I'm good. Like, that's where we're at. I don't have to get a bigger car. I don't have to get a bigger house. We got the dog, got the 3 kids, got the daughter. Let's just call it a day. We're good. So they kept asking us. And then there was this one child that they were having a lot of problems with because he, very, Caucasian, blonde hair, blue eyed, but he's with a Spanish family. So they think he's 4 years old, 3.5, 4 years old. They think that he cannot speak English, and they don't have anybody in the whole network that speaks Spanish. So they kept asking us, yeah, we need to do something with this kid. Would you consider it? And I'm like, nah, I'm good. Go to church one day, and the pastor's talking about, you know how like everybody goes out there and you should talk, reach out to the whole world, and you should be a big, light in the world, and you should like kind of like with coaching and speaking, like you want to reach all these people, right? But he was talking the opposite. He was like, there's one person out there that needs you right now, right? He goes, you might be a neighbor, it might be somebody, in the family, but it might be the person sitting next to you. Point is, like, I don't want you to think about trying to reach the whole world with your message or your help. Just there's one person, and you may know who they are, you might not know about them yet, but that one person needs you. That one person you're there to make a difference in their life. Stop thinking about the whole world. Think about the one person you can help right now. And then he's saying one person this and one person that, and the message is hitting me in the head over and over and over again. And I like to say this was kind of like, some people call it a come to Jesus moment. I was already there, but this is like a tap on the shoulder from God. Like, listen, yo, boom, like that. That's what it feels like, right? I was like, oh. So I go like this in the middle of church, like, oh. My wife's like, what? Because people can hear me. They're all looking at me. I'm like, you know why? I say, do you hear this guy? And she's like, I said, do you know what I'm thinking? She goes, I think so. And it's like, yeah, let's go. Let's this kid, let's go. Let's get him. Let's just take him. And that was the beginning of the journey that I came to with the journey to 100, which was, all right, I'm meant to do more than just what I think I can do. I'm meant to do, and I came up with 100, and that came from seeing some guy on Facebook who ended up saving all these kids that in the war, and he stood up to get an award, and the whole crowd stood up, and these were all the kids that he saved. And I was like, oh my God, that's amazing. I want that. So those two things together kind of formed this whole journey to 100 thing that I'm on. And so now everything I do, I talk about that first, because that's my North Star now. Like, I'm doing something with real estate, if I'm talking on a stage, if I'm promoting something, if money's going towards somewhere, like I'm going to have that conversation. If I'm, mentoring somebody, coaching somebody, somehow or other, just putting person to financial benefit, some path that I put them on, some way I help them. I'm always going to tell you the story because I want that to be in the back of your mind when later on, when you succeed, whether through my influence or just at all, that you come back to me and you consider me a resource and that I can help you like I helped 2 of my friends, and I plan to help more people. And I don't know how long that's going to take, but the whole dad next door thing came from that. My mission to help, build 100 tech companies, and from that 100 millionaires, and from that 100 millionaires, some of those people are probably going to want to explore this option. Everything I do funnels towards that one goal. Even if sometimes people are like, man, you do a lot of things, I can't even tell what you do. It's like, trust me, I know my direction. I have my eye on I know where my North Star is. So if it seems like I'm over here and I'm over there, if you hear this story, then it's going to start to make sense for you. And if I have to show you the picture on the wall, then it would make sense to you. But just like a Jackson Pollock painting. It's not for everybody. Like you might just see it's a hot mess. I see art. I see a purpose. I see a blueprint, so it ain't for them to see. It's for me to see. But I share that with you just for people to kind of understand, like, that's my motivation behind everything.
No, I get it's amazing how that goal has really permeated through everything else that you do. Because as you know, we've brought this up multiple times in my mastermind, which you're a part of now, which is super cool. That it kind of went from like mentor to mentee almost in a sense. But you'll still always be my dad.
Like I told you, and it's like, I always support you. And also, it's really weird. Like, there's this ego thing that people have that gets in the way of everything. Cause you're, like you said, I helped you on the way up. And now, you got to a certain status, and, some might say higher than me or whatever. But I've learned over the years that this is a ladder system. It's not a pyramid of a sorts where I get to stay above people all the time. Sometimes they got to pull me up, right? Because I might be down. I don't know everything. Who the hell has time to know everything about everything, right? Exactly. So it's like, I know this, and I'm trying to spend time with my family. And like we were talking about just before this, NFTs. It's like, well, like to dabble with and play with, yeah, you should learn about everything if you can. But at the end of the day, there's going to be somebody out there that's their sole focus is learning about that. So why shouldn't I, especially if it was somebody close to me, who's definitely going to look out for me more than some jackass on YouTube that's just talking fast and wearing red jackets. But
those people, they're the worst.
Yeah, somebody who has a little bit more care that I actually succeed. You should always go ask those people that you may have helped on the way up. Hey, what do you know about this? Because they're always going to know more, and they're definitely going to be wanting to share and make sure that you understand it the best way they can. So I just look at it like, look, if I'm going to adopt 100 kids, I'm hoping at least one of them supports me in my old age, right? So this is kind of the same thing. Like the people you bring up, one of those people are going to make sure that you're always good, whether it's you or Sean or Kayland or Hone or whoever I've helped over the years. The point is, if you're a betting man or if you're an investor, the more of that you do out in the world, the better chance you have of that coming back to help you out when you need it. Because we're always going to need help. We're always going to need somebody else. And so I don't mind anybody pointing and saying, oh, well, that does not bother my ego. That actually helps my heart. It actually gives me a warm feeling in my heart that I can do that or be a part of that, because just like you didn't know when you trusted in me, you didn't know what was going to happen.
Sure.
And you probably could have never imagined it and never even thought you'd be here right now doing this.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going to happen when you take me through that same journey. And to me, that's exciting. It's like, wow, let's see what he got, right? Like, go on with it, and just like when your kid finally beats your ass in basketball or lifts bigger weights than you, you got to be proud of that. It's like that's not to hurt you. That's to build you up. So to me, that's really legacy. If you can do something like that and have guys around you that got so great that they outshined you, like, you're into the Kung Fu, right? Like, the student becomes the teacher and the master, and a shame in the movies where it kind of dies at that point where the master kind of just watches it happen and nothing happens from there. But for the sake of the drama, the master ends up getting killed by somebody else, and then the student avenges them. Well, I'm not trying to get killed, so I don't need anybody to avenge me. I just need people to fight my battles for me because I'm getting old. You know what I mean? So
all right, well, I'll call off the hitman then in that case.
Your guys, I can see them coming, because if they got your moves, I'm going to hear them falling on the ground and dancing badly on their way in. So you don't have ninjas like I got ninjas. I've trained.
It's cool though, the fact that you've always come from a place of both being a teacher and a student. And I totally agree with you that looking at NFTs right now, just because they're super popular and because we talked about them, right beforehand, it's like, I always look at is this going to become a distraction or a supplement to kind of what I'm doing in that sense? And I think that you've kind of balanced that line very well. Because like I said, we mentioned this a lot in the mastermind, where you're doing a lot of things, but it's really all one thing that's kind of coming together. And I think that that's kind of what your dadpreneur branding is all about now. So talk to us a little bit about that. How did the dadpreneur come to be a thing, and what's that looking like for you today?
So how it came to be was as you grow your brand, right? You might go from you yourself might go from a make money, have fun individual to a make money, have fun squad, right? So how do you leave room for people to grow with you? Because we're all personal brand, right? And we want to grow companies. Some of us want to grow companies. Some of us just want to grow our tribe. Some of us just are just happy with like just being able to make money without a lot of stress, right? However that looks for you. So as I mentioned, Daddy's Fast Cash was like the beginning of that, but I started to evolve and outgrow him because there's no room for other daddies in that. It's just this daddy, right? So that, and a friend of mine, Dave Tran, also pointed that out to me. He was like, some people might take that as the opposite, like you, like scammy hustler type dude. It's all about fast cash because it does have that connotation. And it took me a while to kind of wrap my head around that, but it's true. If you get some space, it's like, well, you hear fast cash, you just think car salesman, hustler, yada, yada, yada. And I tried really hard not to be that. And everybody knew I wasn't that, but somebody that didn't know me might think that. And I was not reaching those people when I could have been reaching them if I had just thought about it a little differently. But I'm not throwing a persona away, just like Sean, was Puff Daddy and then Diddy, then Sean Combs evolve, right? But he's all the same person, and you have to take people through that journey. From there, I went to Dad's Pads, which was my Airbnbs. It was like a housing sort of like, brand. So I'm not flipping and wholesaling. I'm doing the Airbnb thing, and that, that sustained me, right? So it's still just me. It's dads, but I appeal to dads, but not necessarily room for other dads. So the book, The Millionaire Next Door, I started thinking, well, how do I grow this out, right? How do I include more people in this? Because it's not about me, it's about everybody, right? Like, or the people that I want to spend more time with, which was more dad entrepreneurs. So the idea for the Dad Next Door show came about watching the book, The Millionaire Next Door, the book itself. I was like, there's a lot of people you live next door to that you have no idea they're millionaires or that they're geniuses or anything. You just know they're there. So I kind of wanted to make a show to showcase the people that you might not know about that are dad entrepreneurs. And because I'm a dad entrepreneur and I was both an employee and an employer at the same time, I feel like I'm uniquely qualified to talk about both sides of that, because while most dad entrepreneurs, so people don't know this, but like most dad, solopreneurs that run businesses, most of them don't make over $5,000 a year, right? So that's a nice side hustle. And to be honest, like a lot of people are cool with that. That's better than just working overtime all the time, right? So, but there's pieces to that you got to build up if you want to get bigger than that. I'm pretty sure $5,000 a year these days is not that exciting to anybody. So that whole journey that I took from being a firefighter and, doing all this stuff, being an entrepreneur and investor and all that, it kind of encapsulated in the dadpreneur idea. It's not, I didn't make it up. I just used the hell out of it. Mompreneur has been out there longer than that, but like, what do the dads get? Just like moms get Mother's Day and it's a big thing. Dads get like Father's Day and it's a tie and some socks. So it's kind of like, well, I'm going to celebrate my peoples. So I went hard with that. Right. And the Dad Next Door was to showcase those dads. And from that came this whole other dadpreneur, because there's a movement out there now. If you go on Clubhouse, a lot of dadpreneur stuff. If you search on Google, you'll find in places, not so heavy yet, but it's getting there. And I kind of just wanted to say, okay, I'm going to represent dadpreneurs, because that was my whole journey. I'm talking about adoption, I'm talking about making money, and it's all this, how do the two connect? If you're going to adopt a bunch of kids, you got to figure out a way to make a bunch of money, right? So we're going to talk about that. How do you balance it? What do you do? How do you hack this? What kind of business are you in that allows you to spend a lot more time with your family, right? Like, you need to know. Not everybody could be retired and get a pension like me, or, real estate investments. How do you get there? Whether you're a contractor just starting out and starting your own business in COVID world, or you're all the way up the chain, like, how did you manage it? So that just became the catalyst for creating this whole dadpreneur thing. And of course, I'm always going to be talking about something that's going to make you money, whether it's your deal or my deal. And for me, it's like, okay, well, I do have these things going on if you want to know about them. I don't really talk about real estate that much anymore because everybody and their mom does that. It's not really I don't know, it doesn't really stand out to me. You know, if we want to talk about it, I would get somebody that's just way more impassioned about talking about real estate, like our boy Galter or friend Hone or just anybody, and I would just assist them with that. So I find ways to partner with those guys, but still stay with something that's congruent with that. So, for example, with Alchemist Nation now, it's like I don't want to talk about real estate. I could talk about wholesaling and Airbnb all day, right? But I don't want to talk about that. I want to talk about branding because that's what I'm really good at. I don't think too many people can beat me at that. So let's talk about that and how important it is and how this story of mine resonates with a lot of people and how you can make your story resonate so that no matter what you pick, you can put it on ecom, you can put it on real estate, you can put it on, you know, now with me and this venture capital firm that, you know, I'm part of Sela Labs as their idea squad. It's like an honor because I'm building an app that came from an idea that I had while I was doing Airbnbs. But inside of that, I'm Dadlabs. So Dadlabs.tech is a way for people to come bring me ideas. I help them through. I'm actually getting certified now to do this and training people to go through the process of what it would take to be, you know, what you'd have to go through for Y Combinator or one of these other kind of companies, but not just talk about build an app. It's like not just build an app. You got to have like a company behind you. You got to have a sales force. You got to have a marketing team. You got to have all these things along the way so that you can succeed. And I really like that idea because 100 tech companies equals 100 millionaires equals a lot more kids adopted. And that's how I think. So, you know, and to me, real estate, yes, real estate can do that, but I mean, again, there's a million gurus out there. I don't want to spend my time walking people through the basics. I could if I wanted to. You can get on a mastermind with me or ask me to coach you and consult. I'll take that time out, but it does not give me as much joy as this other stuff. And since make money and have fun is what we do, right?
Exactly.
I want to have fun making my money. And if it takes a little longer, great, but I got time. I think I got time. I hope I got time. But the point is, I like to spend my time doing that and not just hammering somebody over the head. Oh, this is how you wholesale. And this is how you build a buyer's list. And this is how you look. There's a lot of other people with more energy out there telling me the same thing I would tell you. I just say it with more flavor and color and a couple cuss words and probably some, you know, analogies that don't even fit. But that's part of the charm that is being with me, right? So you just gotta have to deal with that. Or you could go to the guy that's real professional, that loves it, that speaks the way you need to be, you know, the way you need to hear it, not fast, not slow, just right. And go to that guy. And I could tell you who that guy is all day. I'd be like, talk to that guy and talk to that guy. So when you come to me for real estate, I can point you to the right people because they are part of my team or I'm part of their team, however you want to look at it. And you're still being taken care of no matter which way you come to me. So I like that position that I'm playing right now because it leaves me space to keep creating things that nobody else is really out there creating yet. And if you've known me a while and the people that know me, they know I'm always 10 years ahead of everybody, sometimes way too far ahead. Like my movie, The Beef 20 years ago. And now, you know, people are still, geez, man, like what made you think of all that stuff? It's like, if you ever, that's a whole nother story. But the point is, everybody knows that about me. I'm kind of way too early sometimes. And sometimes I'm just early enough to be right. And I like that. I like that about myself. I think that it keeps me young. So, yeah.
I think that you've always kind of played in a space where you always had a high level of fulfillment with it. Even if it was something that like other people didn't understand or you couldn't really categorize yourself very well, you were just like, you know what, I like this. It's kind of fun. So I'm going to go do this. And, you know, for a while you were pulling me into the crypto, you know, craze when that first came around, whatever that was 3-4 years ago. And then, you know, now it's the dad pads thing and the dadpreneur and the show and all this different kind of stuff. But it's cool to see how almost all of it can kind of point back to this one thing. Because I think that one of the things that people get tripped up over in entrepreneurship is like they're always trying to find like, okay, who's my target market? What's my result that I'm getting for them? And you know, how can I help them achieve that result? Whereas you're kind of playing the other game. You're like out here with like a scatter gun. Like, yeah, I got all this stuff going on, but it all aims towards this one thing. Have you ever like, I don't know, I don't really have a good question for it, but have you ever like worried that you're kind of too all over the place, or has this kind of just been a better MO for you to kind of go that route?
I have been all over the place. And I would say that some people can find their why a lot faster. But a lot of my all over the place was because I didn't really have that big enough why. And once I did, um, we're always going to be looking for better opportunities. But if you're really good at something, you should probably hit that hard for at least 2, 3 years and then decide. So that's what I started doing. Because after that, like knowing, after knowing if you're good or you want to continue down that path, it's okay to again evolve. I think. How much time do you want to spend on a bad decision? I don't know. When you find the right one, then you stick with it forever. But I'll give you an example for like I really loved, you know, being in the hospitality industry, the part of it that I was in. But that whole world, everything changed this last year with COVID and just with people's just, I don't know, either adaptation or just realization that they can manipulate things. If you love your customer, everything becomes easy. If you don't like your customer or you stop loving your customer, you need to get out of there. And usually that's when I bounce, when I stop loving my customer. So when I do leave, if anybody was to kind of point a chart like of saying what happened, why did you stop doing that? It was simply that the customer changed or my attitude towards them changed. It could be both. I don't always know, but when I stop loving the customer for that particular thing is usually when I take off, because I don't think that serves any, that's not congruent with who I am or how I want to be with people. So hopefully that sort of answers your question on how I make these kind of decisions. And then the other part is just how much work do I want to do anymore?
Mm-hmm.
So just like real estate investing, it's like, yeah, you can make a lot of money doing flips. Do you want the headache? Yeah, you can make a lot of money doing wholesaling. Do you want to do that much work? Yeah, you could be a landlord. Do you have a good maintenance company? Do you love your customer again? Or you could be somebody who just invests in notes. And I think the older you get, the more that looks attractive, because you're just not dealing with the same amount of problems if you're trying to build something else. You know what I mean? Or you just love notes, or you just love numbers, and that's more to your personality. And you got to figure that out. I'm part of, I'm still real estate investing. I mean, one of the things I'm investing in. And the point is because I know that once I put my money into that, money's just going to, I'm not going to have to deal with nothing. It's just a return on investment that I'm hands off on. Why? Could I get a better return doing it myself if I got in there and got under the hood and played with this and played with that? Sure. Is that what I want to do right now? Hell no. I want to go build ideas. I want to go help people build tech companies so that we can put a team that operates that bad boy and I can get a return on that, because then I'm out of it. I did what I had to do. It got built. Idea was formulated, put together. The team was built, sales, marketing, everything else is other people. And now, bro, hit your KPIs, send me a check. That's where I'm at right now. So
makes perfect sense. Makes absolute sense. And that's kind of, it's kind of the definition of make money and have fun at that point. I was interviewed on someone else's show about 2 weeks ago. And one of the things that I said is, it's not about trading in the hard for the easy or trading in the work for the play. It's about picking the work that you want, right? Or the hard that you want, because it just feels different. It's not any less work. It's just a different feeling that you get from it. And so, like you said, it kind of just comes down to like your like fun level. If you're looking at like a fun, like pendulum, you're like, okay, if this is at this amount of fun, I'll do it. If not, I'm not doing it, kind of a thing, which I think just makes total sense.
Yeah, because I'll give you an example, right? Like, it's more fun to play tag than it is to go to the gym, right? But it's exercise. So for me, I'm looking for ways to play tag, not to go jogging with headphones for an hour for no purpose other than to be healthy. That's what I guess is the best way I could put it.
No, I agree.
Exercise, both will strengthen you, but one was an experience and fun, and the other one was just a duty you had to do to keep the rest of your life moving the way you wanted to move.
Exactly.
I'm just always looking for more ways to play tag, dodgeball, jump on trampolines, that kind of stuff than I am because I hate running for no reason. If I'm not running from the cops, why am I running? So like that is pretty much how I feel about running, but I'll do it every once in a while. Huh?
Than running. Trying to find a better reason to run than running from the cops. You
Well,
can do like the nights where you put like the cereal under your car.
I would be like Pepe. I would say like the Pepe Le Pew reason to chase somebody, but that got canceled, so I can't talk about that exercise. But yeah, I mean, running to something. I mean, you know, I did that for too many years, and I'm not running to anything anymore. I'm walking to it. But if I'm playing tag, then yeah, that to me that makes me want to run because I don't want to get caught. You know what I mean? So
exactly, it's converting the running into tag basically is the game that you're playing. So normally, go ahead.
No, and the better way to put that is if anybody knows, I talk about this too. It's kind of like one of my fantastic 5. You know, with you have money, have fun. With me, it's like you have these 5 things: family, fun, balance in these 5 areas: family, fun, finance, flow, and faith. And that analogy of tag is a good way to put flow. It's like, how do you take something that how do you make something fun out of something that's not fun, right? So flow is kind of that invisible glue that makes things, you know, fun, you know, inside of that. It's not just like I decide to have fun. No, I got to make it fun. How do I take something that I have to do and make it into something fun? Not what I have to do, but what I want to do, what I get to do. You know, that their terminology. And that really has to do with figuring out how to make things flow between each other, between work and play. And they should really be the same thing as much as possible. So everything's a lot easier.
Totally agree. Totally agree. We actually got a wow face in there. Someone left us a wow face somewhere. So maybe they're wowing you running from the cops or something like that.
It's happened.
Oh, so normally I like to end this show with like words of wisdom, words of advice, encouragement. But I think that since you're here, it might be better to end this show with a story about us, because you and I have some good stories.
Are you going to tell the one, or am I, or you don't want to go there?
This is your free reign to embarrass me at this point, or you could edify me. We could tell them about the time we put the fire out together.
You could tell that story because to be honest with you, I don't remember that. I remember it. I just don't remember all the pieces of it because that was like an automatic kind of response. So what you saw was just me doing what I was trained to do. And if you've ever been trained to do anything, sometimes you just do it automatically. So you
right. So I found these quadplexes, and where the hell were we? We were in Overbrook. Yeah, it was like Overbrook, West Philly-ish kind of an area. And so Jason came out. We had another guy, Steve, come out with us, and we were like hacking our way into these quadplexes that we sort of were allowed in, but not really. And then Jason was riding me home, and we drive past this house that's got a big fire coming out of it. And so we're like, what the heck is going on? And of course, Jason is a firefighter already at this point, which we didn't talk too much about, but that was kind of his first career. And so he just like immediately pulls over. I'm like, oh, great. I guess we're putting out a fire now at this point. And he gets out of his car. He could only find one of his gloves and like half of his tools that he needed and stuff like that. And then within a few minutes, the fire company pulled up. It was snowing out. I remember it was wintertime. And they handed me a hose, and I threw the hose over my shoulder, and I was like running it somewhere. And then the fire company took care of it. But it was kind of an interesting experience for me because I'd never been involved with anything like that before. So it was kind of neat for that to happen. What were your thoughts, Jason?
Nah, you basically you explained it. So there's terminologies you can pull up to you pull up to the property. I mean, when you're first in, which is what we were actually first in, but they got there, you pull, they pull up, and then, you stop, you grab the hose, and then you walk it back to the hydrant, the first hydrant you can find. So that's basically what me and you did. I mean, we helped the driver. He got in place. We walked the line back, and, we got him so that they could get the water on this bad boy quick. And it was a little difficult because, like you said, it was frozen. So, basically opening up the line for him and stuff like that. But, yeah, you got to take, you got a piece of that. And in those situations, the faster you get the water in the fire, the less damage. So obviously, as soon as you can, you put it on. You don't necessarily go running in, because I don't think anybody was in the place. I think they said that nobody was in there at the point. But you help those who are best equipped to do their job and don't get in their way. You don't want to become another casualty either. So there's just things that come in there. But like I said, we got there about a little bit ahead of the fire truck. We pulled over. They got there, made sure they got the space they needed, helped them a little bit, and then we went on our way. And you got to, like I said, you got to play fireman for a little bit that day.
It was a neat experience. I didn't realize. I mean, it's cool. It's cool to be there with somebody who actually has the experience in that, because you're kind of watching it with a different set of eyes. It's like when I watch UFC, I watch it differently than somebody who's never had any martial arts training before, because I'm kind of seeing what's going on, what's open, what's not open, and where all that different stuff is. So it was interesting for me because my confidence was just like through the roof, even though I'd never done this before. Just because I was hanging out with somebody who had experience in that area, I'm like, okay, I guess I can do this. So
yeah, sometimes you just need somebody to say, just grab that, pick that up, move it over here, and that's as simple as that. Because people, adrenaline rush wise, they don't know what to do with their arms and hands. They just, should I run in? Should I do this? Like, no, just do this, this, and this. And that's kind of like what the officers do. And they get all that pent up energy and that adrenaline, and they direct it like airbending, waterbending, firebending, whatever you want to just point it in the right direction. And that's really the training you get, is like taking all that energy and directing it in the right direction instead of scatterbrain all over the places, which is most people do. And then they panic and they get hyperventilate and they do bad decisions. So that, you just got to experience that the same way. If you were, I guess if you were coaching a couple kids on self-defense, you get the spaz to calm down. You know what I mean? Don't swing it all over. No, just this way. Preserve energy and give a better hit than say spaz out, waste all your energy, and then fall down on the ground and then get your ass kicked. Like that's what'll happen. So
that is exactly what happens whenever I teach chokes or choke defenses. That's always the thing, because most people freak out when someone puts their hands around your neck, and once you stop doing that, that's when you can defend yourself. with pretty much anything. So I basically was forged by fire to become a firefighter, literally, in a sense.
Something more like ice, but yeah. We're forged in the snow.
Yeah. I was like, oh great, we're getting out of the car again. This is wonderful.
Yeah, it was cold that day too.
Dude, this has been cool, man. Did you have fun on this show?
Yeah, man. It was glad I could fill in for all the superstars that you couldn't grab for this one. You're such a what do they call it? An influencer whore. No, I'm kidding. Looking for those top names. I ain't getting no love like Mark Evans DM. I ain't getting no Gregory love. I got all these guys' books and everything. I can't get no. Nah, I'm just messing with you.
I know. Now you need to write a book.
No, but now I'm in that company. So I'm in the same company as Les Brown and all these other cats. So it was a level up. So thank you.
Exactly. I mean, I got to make myself look cooler, and I got to make you look cooler too. So I figured I'd do you a favor.
Should I go grab a jacket? Maybe a different color?
Do you have any fun jackets?
Probably the blue one I got is pretty nice, but I mean, no, man, that's your thing. I do this. This is we could do this. That's all I do.
There you go. That works. I just got one jacket because I'm like, my colors are red and I want to do something that stands out a little bit. So I called my boy Nathan up, who was on the show, and he hooked the brother up. I don't know, man. Leave me alone. You're just jealous.
No, listen, that jacket looks nice and you can wear it as a tuxedo. And everybody, every superhero has their cape and their uniform and their whatever. So that's yours,
Exactly.
So, rock it. I'm breaking your balls only because I know you like that, but it looks good.
I'm okay with it. So on that note, what would you like to say to our guests before we leave today, before we depart from everybody?
I don't know, make money and have fun. I'll tell you what, though, if you guys, anybody listening to this anytime, anywhere, have some kind of idea that you might have put on the shelf or in a closet or so sitting in a notepad somewhere, that, some kind of technology or app that you think could change the world. I've heard some really cool ones, some that were cool and some that could be really amazing. which is why I love this. The one I'm working on actually has to do with trash and how to gamify, monetize, and incentivize people to get crowdsourced way of trash elimination. So to me, it became a big game in my head. But something exciting like that you might have got stalled out on, and you don't have all the resources. I mean, the Dadlabs.tech. I'm under this umbrella called Sela Labs, and we have answers. We can take you through from the idea stage, to the funding, to the VC, to actually operators. We're training young entrepreneurs to actually be operators, guys that might not have the money but that have the know-how. We have the developers, a whole company in India that's a branch. I mean, we have pretty much everything, sales and marketing. So it's not just, hey, come with an idea. Like if you come, you're getting a full package. It's basically 6 sort of separate companies that have come together to get you from A to Z. And if that's something you're interested in, especially if you're a dad entrepreneur, because then that's points. But this is for everybody. I'd like to talk to you. So if you want, fill out the form on Dad Labs .tech, not .com, because somebody took that, and if I knew who it was, I'd fight them. But Dadlabs.tech. Come check me out. It'll set up an appointment so we can talk, and let's see what you got. Maybe we can dust that idea out the closet. Again, some pretty cool ideas. One of the companies that have been formed from this are helping farmers to become more efficient and grow better, and put out more food and produce more into the world. Others have to do with just all kinds of cool stuff. I'm not going to go deep into that. This is not a commercial for that. Dadlabs.tech. Hit me up. I can probably help you with that. And as Fred knows, real estate, other stuff I could talk to you about, but that's really what's going to get me interested in hearing your story. So if you want to talk to me and have some fun, that's probably the best way.
Sweet. I love it. So go to dadlabs.tech, bring your idea, and get ready to get roasted on the phone by Jason, because he's broke.
Free. There's
exactly.
No charge for that.
Yeah, I'm still paying my bill off.
Yeah, you are. I think you got about $250 to work off still.
That's not too bad. A couple days on the street. I love it. On that note, Jason, thank you so much for being here, man. This has been awesome stuff, and we will see everybody again next week on another episode of the Make Money and Have Fun show. See you, Jason.
Take care. Comb your hair.